Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Versus on DreamHack Tonight. I'm Alex Jebailey.
And I'm Kyle Konsmo. Thanks for remembering me again, Alex.
No problem. I was just afraid your internet was going to cut out again. But anyways, today is a very special episode of Versus. We have one of the most famous or infamous, Super Smash Brothers players, Eric Liu, aka ESAM, very popular Pikachu player, YouTube content creator, also sponsored by Panda Global, a very prominent name in the FGC world of esports. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Don't appreciate that roast, but I'm doing good.
That was the nicest you're going to get out of me, so take it for what it was.
You're not wrong.
But yeah, no, you are the #1 Pikachu in the world, though. That is a great accomplishment, I think.
It's kind of weird. Like, there'll be sometimes I just think, and I'm just like, I've been the best in the world at something for like 10 years. That's crazy. That's not normal.
Jordan,
like, I'm not the best player in the world, but
Jordan only did it for 7, so you're way up there. He quit while he was ahead. You're still holding on by a thread, I'm sure. But anyways, welcome to the show, buddy. I'm so sorry. Me and Eric know each other very well. So tell us, introduce yourselves to our DreamHack fans. What got you into gaming? What were some of your first gaming memories?
Well, first off, for like a little bit of Smash background, I've been playing competitively since 2005. I'm an old school Smash player. ESAM, Eric Samus, because that was who I mained back in the Melee days with the 4 letters that you could put in your tag. But like how I started gaming, I mean, I always grew up around gaming because my dad, we had a Super Nintendo, and he would always play things like Super Metroid was one of his favorites. And when I was really young and couldn't play, I would just sit on his back, and they would give me like the second controller, and I would just be like freaking out, just like on his back. And it was apparently adorable. I think there's a couple pictures of it that maybe I can find at some point. But, I grew up with my brother as well, who's big into gaming. So a lot of our relationship was, driven by gaming. Like in the early days, we would play one-player games and alternate like Super Metroid or like Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island, stuff like that. We would also play Tetris Attack, which that was fun. That's a good game. Y'all know that. Yep. I saw the smirks. And then suddenly, N64 came out, Smash Bros came out, started playing that with, my brother and my other friends. And then at some point, Melee came out with the GameCube, and he went to a tournament. He being my brother, of course, his tag is Nick Riddle. He still plays. And he was like, hey, you should come. And then suddenly all this.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite the progression as a family. Then you've done it together. That's pretty cool. I love that. But
yeah,
from early days of an NES or Super Nintendo all the way up to getting into esports in 2005, you said that's when you've got your first start real there.
Yeah.
And now being with Panda, like how did all of those dots connect?
Well, I kind of just played, again, it was like kind of for fun, and I wasn't like too social with like friends, so I wouldn't like go out. I mean, again, in 2005, I was 12 or 13 at the very end of it, so I was still very young. And so I would be hanging out like with my family or with like a couple of friends, but I started just going to tournaments once a week because, back in the day, there weren't tournaments 17 times a month. So it was like, I have 2 locals a month maximum. And so I would just play with, I would just learn Smash and get better and practice with, a couple of his friends that became our crew, which our name was Blue Bloodline, which we didn't publish anything, but it was just a good name. And then, I just kept playing, got better, maybe was at the very end or like right before Brawl came out, maybe considered top 10 in Florida, which as Jebailey knows, Florida in Melee, dude, it's so crazy. There have been so many good players in Florida throughout the history of it.
One of the world's best, Hungrybox. So
I mean, you got Hungrybox, Plot, Mewtwo King nowadays, Wizrobe, it's insane, Gatsu. But then, of course, back in the day, we had things like the Shizwiz and Lamb Chops and QDVS, and there were a ton of good players that I was slowly rising up the ranks against, which was awesome. Then Brawl came out. I was a little bit worse at Brawl initially when it came out, but for some reason it just clicked. And, it took me 2 years. Like, I was definitely worse than 2 of my crewmates. One of them quit because he didn't like Brawl, and he started having hand issues. And then my brother, Nick Riddle, was like top 2 or 3 in the state at the beginning. Our friend Sabrick, who was #1 for the first couple of years of Brawl in Florida, or like at least top 3, he would do amazing in out-of-state events that I had never traveled to. My first big event that I can remember was the one called Winterfest, and I got smacked by Mewtwo King, got 33rd. And I was like, oh, that's what being a good player is like. Huh. That's insane. So I started grinding harder. In the MLG circuit of 2010, I, did really well my first one. I got 4th, beating several national threats. And then that they gave me a travel stipend to go to the next one. And I think that was the only reason I was able to start traveling for events. Again, it was once every like 2 months or something. So I did that. I established a name for myself. People wanted me out at their events, would help me with like hotel costs and something like that. And suddenly I started going to a couple majors, like 4 to 6, 7 majors a year. And that's kind of all Brawl had. I mean, it wasn't like crazy like it is nowadays where you have a major every weekend, or I guess before the outbreak, right? And then Smash 4 came out. I actually quit for a couple months because I did really poor. Like Smash 4 came out and I put so much time into it to get really good, and I was super excited for it. I missed one of the first majors because my girlfriend at the time had like a medical whatchamacallit, emergency, so I couldn't go. Like I had to miss my flight, so I was like, okay. And then right after that, I did really poorly on like my first set of tests for the semester. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna stop playing because I need to finish college. Because at that time I was like, I think a 3rd year in Clemson or maybe 4th year, I don't remember. Doing genetics, haha. So then Panda Global was like, hey, if you play again more seriously, you can join the team. You want to join the team? Because they had spoken to MVD, who's one of my best friends, if not my best friend, and like he kind of helped them start it a little bit. And they were like, hey, who else should we have on the team? And he recommended me. So we got a contract. We started playing, and me and MVD had a lot of success on Panda Global. Then Smash 4 happened. I was top 14, top 17, top 20, around that area. I had very good sets with a lot of the top players. And then Ultimate came out, and it exploded with majors every weekend. I mean, I would travel before the outbreak 3 times a month, 4 times a month. It was crazy, and it was so fun. And yeah, that's a connected dots vaguely to where I am now.
Well,
Wow.
you explain a lot of your Smash history. So our 4th question for you then is, and it's funny because I used to be a huge Melee player. Like I played 64, and that's why the community understands that I'm actually a Smash guy too.
Yeah.
And I host the events and I get their support. But Melee, I'll never forget, like it would be Peach, and I didn't know how good Fox was. So I played and I was winning tournaments until Fox pretty much took over the game with wave dashing and ended.
Yeah.
And then Brawl came out, and I'll never forget the first Brawl turn I went to. It was round robin in my pool. 7 out of the 8 players were Meta Knight players, and I lost almost every single one. And I'm like, you know what? It was like the first month it came out. I'm like, this character is going to be a prom. So I kind of moved on from Brawl, and then Tripping, of course, and then Smash 4, which is such a huge growth for all of us, right? So Smash 4 was pretty big. That led into the Switch, which was an easy, kind of carryover, right? And you were one of the few players that have transferred over, and you probably still can play the old games like a Mewtwo King and such. What was some of your favorite memories? Like, give us 2 of them. And then online tournaments, what's your opinion on those? And they've been popping up a lot, but do you personally like them? Do you think there's a place for them now?
So do you want the memories in terms of Smash 4 specifically, or just like a couple through like my history?
One Smash 4, one recent one for Switch.
I'll give you 3 because I'm an asshole. So I'll do a Melee one. So this was after Brawl came out, and I definitely for the first couple years of Brawl didn't really play Melee at all. And then I started practicing a little more because I'm like, you know what? It's fun. I can play both because like they're very different. And I play different characters because I, in Brawl became a Pikachu main, but in Melee I was a Samus main. So like they didn't really overlap. So in Melee in 2013 Apex, there was a player named Javi who was a Mexican phenom. Basically, he got like 3rd or 4th the previous year, beating Dr. PP or PPMD. And I had him in my pool, and I remember people were like, "Oh, how are you excited to play Javi?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna beat him." And they were like, yeah, okay, but like, seriously. And I was like, I'm going to beat him. Watch. And then people were like, yeah, okay, you're just being like cocky. Because at that time I was like top, 5, 6 in the world at Brawl. So I was like, oh, I have that like bravado, And then I beat him. And I remember just the shocked look. There's literally the video online. Hungrybox was watching at the end. Because, I mean, it was like a big upset alert. And you can see him at the end just be like, what just happened? And there are just so many people that were just like shocked by it. And it was great because then like at that time that was a big like Melee versus Brawl like negativity was kind of happening. And so I win and I just pop off with like Super Smash Brothers Brawl, which because I'm petty and I'm an asshole, which was to me really funny. Then for Smash 4, it was very much so I would say my favorite Smash 4 memory was just my first Super Smash Con, because that was when, like, obviously 2014 esports blew up. So like generally more people went to events and everything like that. I think it became more accessible and more like known. And the first Smash Con, I remember just seeing the crazy amount of people that were just so excited to play, because again, Brawl tournaments, the biggest one ever was 400 people. And I probably knew about 250 of them, right? was like personally, because there was just it was a tighter knit community. But then going to SmashCon, the first year when Smash 4 had been out for 8 months or so, I just remember seeing hundreds of people line up for all the top personalities, including myself. And I had never signed so many autographs, and I'd never taken so many selfies. And I was just like, wow, like I can make people enjoy a game or be happy or like influence people in a positive way. That's crazy. And it kind of shifted my perspective on like how to present myself, like online, just in general, just wanting to be more so like a driving force for good, as opposed to like I can kind of do whatever I want and just be me, because like, well, that's of course good. Being genuine is good. And I'm not saying I'm not genuine. I definitely try to make sure that, you know, I'm a little bit more like, oh, like I know like kids watch me now. Like I had people with their parents come up to me and they were like 9, and I was like, okay, so like I should probably clean up just a little bit. And it was just awesome to just like see it and just see a bunch of people care about the game that I did for so long. So it was awesome. And then if I had to pick one for Ultimate, I would just say like winning my first major, in term, or like my first like big major in terms of Glitch 7, beating amazingly talented players, having really close sets, and just like the feeling of popping off and just being so validated that like my practice was working, that I was getting better. And it was just a feeling that I've experienced a couple times. I mean, I've won majors, I've won tournaments, but with how big Ultimate is and how competitive it is and how difficult it is to just beat the other top players at any type of consistency, it was great to just beat them all back to back to back and have like an amazing run. And it was a feeling that I want again, you know, when offline comes back. In terms of online events, I definitely think they're important. I obviously don't really like Nintendo or the Ultimate Online. It's objectively bad, right? A minimum of 4-frame delay with delay-based netcode, so it's not great. But I'm also someone that I played Brawl Wi-Fi, and that had like half a second delay. And like Smash 4 Wi-Fi wasn't much better. Well, it was better than Brawl, but it wasn't like, it was like about the same as this current one. So while it's hard, you know, I'm someone that can separate, you know, me doing well online because I understand like my like ego, or I guess my confidence level or my confidence isn't really affected by like I'm doing poorly online, because I know there's a difference. But at the same time, I am aware it's important for entertainment, because otherwise no one would care about Smash even a little bit right now, at least in terms of like the competitive viewers, because what else is there to watch, right? Like, oh, I guess Japan has offline things now, 8 months after like stuff started happening. But I think they're important. I just think people really have to temper their expectations of like what it is. And that's basically it. Like I'm aware that like I'll be frustrated and be like, oh my God, I lost because like lag happened, or I should have hit this, but I couldn't because I couldn't react to it. And then I'm just like, yeah, but still played Smash, still had fun for the most part. And, you know, you just got to remember to have fun even in frustrating scenarios. And if you're not having fun, you should take a small break at the very least. I mean, what else? You can come back at any time. Like there's nothing else to do.
Yep.
That Band-Aid, right? We deal with it while we have to, but we hope that that day returns that we can play in person, because that's where we really want to see that competition go. But in the meantime, you create a lot of content on YouTube, and you were
Yes.
talking about that, you know, that driving force for good that you've wanted to be, and this is kind of that outlet for you, isn't it? Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about what you have going on there, and that challenge between trying to stay competitive and relevant versus trying to be a content creator.
That last part's definitely a huge struggle, because like you know, my content is a lot of the time still geared more towards competition. It's not really like for casual audiences, like casual Smash fans. It's definitely like the competitive niche of the overall giant casual Smash, which it can be hard, because I definitely a lot of times want to talk about like cool intricacies of the game and like really detailed stuff. And then that video is really poorly because I'm talking at, you know, top 0.1% of, you know, information, and people are just like, I don't really get it, or like it's not, you know, attractive to them in like a thumbnail or a title or something like that. And practicing while editing, while, you know, doing all the stuff I have to for videos, recording, while also traveling, while also remaining, you know, having some type of social life, is very challenging. Again, it's a little easier now that I'm not traveling for events, because I can actually take weekends off, which, you know, I don't stream on Saturday and Sunday. So at the very least, like I sleep more on those days. I'm more dedicated to like, I can either hang out with my fiance, who I'm in lockdown with, or just like, okay, I'm going to edit for a couple hours without really worrying about something else, or I'll prepare a video for the next week. So like I kind of have time to like reset, which is nice. But the videos are just, I try to just be informative and also try to make sure that I'm entertaining, but still I'm not like entertaining in a way that's very like negative towards other people, because I know there's a lot of like, especially in the ultimate scene, a lot of people like to just be negative about the game. Think like the beginning of Street Fighter V, right? Like, well, people were excited. There was a lot of downplaying and a lot of just like smack talk, for a cleaner term, right? And that just never really went away with Ultimate for some reason. So people will always be just like, oh, like this person that's beating me is trash. They're mashing, they're camping, they're whatever style that I don't particularly like. And while I, of course, have my reservations for certain characters and certain play styles, I generally try to keep that to myself, because if I, downplay a character or a player, then that gives a bunch of people that see my video, like let's say 15, 20,000 people, be like, oh, it's cool to be mean to that person. I don't really want to ever do that. It ends up breeding a lot of toxicity. So I try to definitely keep things more positive, or if I'm negative, be just like, I personally don't like it, but here's good things about it. Which I think is important. And the grind is hard, of course, because like, could I be doing more for my channel? Yeah. Should I be doing that as opposed to competing, especially given the amount of money that Smash has in it, which isn't like a crazy high amount? Maybe. I mean, I know a lot of people that took content creation really far with Smash and are making a ton of money. I mean, that's why I started doing YouTube originally was, after college, I got denied from my my pharmacy school application because I didn't have the GPA, didn't have good letters of recommendation, even though I got a 97 on my PCAT. So that's nice. But then I was like, okay, I'll try to do this esports thing, but I need to, diversify where I can make my money. So if I have a bad month somewhere, I'm not just going to be screwed and not be able to pay rent. So, started streaming more consistently, doing YouTube. I would go to locals and stuff, go to tournaments that would all make enough money definitely for me to live. And then, of course, as things got bigger, those numbers got bigger. And it's just like, cool, like I have a decent, like, an income, a living, right? But it's still like a ton of work. It's not like anything's ever guaranteed because I have to put in the hours on Twitch. I have to, make a lot of content, because definitely if the hardest thing about like being your own boss and working, kind of independently with YouTube and Twitch is if you decide to take a break, so does the money. So there's definitely like that lingering thing in the background, right? But it's been fun. I mean, I definitely like the career that I'm in, even if of course everything has negatives, everything has stress, because like, oh, I'm frustrated because I don't think my thumbnails are being good enough and I have to do research, and like that's annoying and stuff, but it's still awesome. Like I still get to play video games for a living and talk about video games for a living. So like I'm aware that that's like privileged, right? So I'm a fan.
Very cool. Last question, two of them. One, what's your favorite tournament trophy ever, and what's next for ESAM?
My favorite tournament trophy ever has to be my CEO 2014, I'm pretty sure, belt that I got winning Dive
feels like a decade
I'm
ago.
a multifaceted player. I also used to play Marvel, which was fun, but I never won a tournament for that. Although I did take, I think, a set or two off of Tayson. I think you know that name, right? He's a top
Tyson. Yep.
Tyson, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Did you see when I banned him for spoiling Endgame as a joke? So Kyle, a very famous Marvel player, he spoiled the Iron Man ending, and I went ballistic. I'm like, you are forever banned from my event, all across social media. So the next time I ran a tournament, he wore a disguise to get around me, and he had a beard, a hoodie on, and I wasn't gonna actually kick him out, but dude, a video went viral of him playing, and he used a different name, and it's like, Jebailey, did you see who entered the tournament? And I gave him all the props in the world because he literally wore a fake mustache, a wig, all this shit just to be able to compete in the tournament. It was the funniest thing ever. But anyways, ESAM, what's next for you, buddy? I know we're all waiting for COVID to get around, but just content, let people know your YouTube, how to follow you.
Yeah, it's definitely still a lot of content. You can go to youtube.com/c/I'mESAM or twitch.tv/I'mESAM. I'm trying to have the same name across the board, although it's difficult because ESAM is a name in the it's a Middle Eastern name, so I could never get just ESAM anywhere because people actually have that name. It's not just like an alias, right? So I'm doing my best with that. And then, the rest of it, it's, a lot of personal life stuff. Me and my fiance have been in Canada because she's Canadian throughout all of COVID. We're trying to move back to Central Florida, which is where we're renting a house, and we've just been stuck not there. So hopefully we can, do that, just kind of be in a larger space, because right now that's definitely a big stressor. It's just we don't have a lot of room, and just continue the content grind. And of course, if offline ever comes back, because vaccines and stuff like that actually happen, or just even if it's contained invitationals and stuff, you bet I'm going to wreak havoc, because I have not been slowing down. I've been practicing so much and so hard, more than most players, even though a lot of them get fatigued, but I'm ready to kick ass.
Awesome. Well, ESAM, thank you so much, man. Good luck. Hope to see you near me soon in Orlando.
Yeah.
And that's it for this week of Versus. Like to give a shout out to ESAM. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Let us know if you think you'll ever win a tournament again in the comments below. Kyle?
And I'd like to thank our sponsors for supporting our show, Simply Nuck, Blue Microphone, and Astro Gaming. We love and appreciate you for supporting these wonderful originals.
Take care.